Media playback is unsupported on your device. Media caption: what it was like to testify against Larry Nassar. Former Olympic Dr. Larry Nassar has been handed a jail sentence of 175 years in Michigan for abusing female athletes he was supposed to be treating. Here, the BBC's Rajini Vaidyanathan, who was in court, and Roland Hughes detail the extraordinary testimony given in court by the survivors of his abuse. This article contains graphic details of sexual abuse. 156 young women, mothers, sisters, daughters, Olympians, all say they were abused by the same man, former Team USA Gymnastics Dr. Larry Nassar. Over 7 days, they took to the stand one by one to do what few survivors of sexual abuse ever get the chance to do: directly confront their attacker. Nassar had already pleaded guilty to 10 counts of sexual assault for abusing young girls under the guise of medical treatment. Women who filed criminal complaints against Nassar spoke out at his sentencing hearing in Lansing, but they were followed by close to 150 others, many of whom chose to do so without the anonymity to which they were entitled. Kyle Stevens was the first to tell her story. For years she was known only as Victim Saw, but last Tuesday morning, she stood before Judge Rosemarie Ecolina and calmly shared her name. In doing so, she waived her anonymity in public just as she was about to testify to the damage her abuser had done. "I was ready to speak," Kyle said in an interview with the BBC after her testimony. "I think it was really empowering to get up there and give my story from start to finish." For decades, Larry Nassar abused young women. It was Kyle's call to police that led to him finally being arrested. Unlike many of the other women who shared their stories in this case, Kyle wasn't a gymnast and a patient of Nassar's. Her parents were friends with his family. As she stood in the small courtroom, photos of her as a smiling child were projected onto a screen. "Nassar first abused her when she was 6, when I still had not lost all my baby teeth." Image copyright Kyle Stevens. Image caption: images of Kyle Stevens as a child were projected onto a screen in court. It began with him exposing himself. Later, he would masturbate before her. Then, he physically abused her, all while both their families were in the same house. When Kyle, aged 12, told her parents that Nassar would rub his erect penis on her bare feet, he denied it. Back then, her parents did not believe her, and urged her to apologize to him. "He forced me to grow up really fast," Kyle told the BBC after the hearing. "It was such a benign action until you grow up and realize it was a vile thing." Image copyright AFP/Getty Images. Image caption: Kyle Stevens addressed Nassar, foreground, in court 7 minutes into her testimony last Tuesday, delivered alongside her mother. Kyle looked up at Judge Rosemarie Ecolina and politely asked if she could address Nassar directly. She reminded him of how her parents invited him round to their home after she had accused him. Sitting in her living room, he had denied abusing her and had said that if she was ever really abused, she should remember to report it. "Well, Larry, I'm here," she told him in court. "Not to tell someone, but to tell everyone. Perhaps you have figured it out by now, but little girls don't stay little forever. They grow into strong women who return to destroy your world." In her teens, Kyle was asked to babysit Nassar's 2 daughters. Doing so helped her protect them, she told the court, and allowed her to save enough money to pay for counseling. Having reached a point where she had started to question whether the abuse had indeed occurred, she tried again to explain to her parents what had happened. This time, they believed her. Nassar, 54, graduated from the University of Michigan in 1985 and joined the medical staff of the U.S. national gymnastics team based in Indianapolis a year later. In 1997, alongside his work with the national gym team, he began working as a team physician at Michigan State University, MSU. He began abusing Kyle Stevens a year later. He worked for the U.S. gymnastics team in 4 Olympic Games, regularly rushing to the help of gymnasts who might have fallen awkwardly. Image copyright IOP/AFP/Getty Images. Image caption: many of Nassar's victims cited the moment he helped injured gymnast Kerri Strug at the 1996 Olympics, a moment that boosted his reputation as a caring, well-respected Dr. Kerry Hogan, a former softball player at MSU, told the court it was seen as a privilege to be treated by Nassar. Successful treatment could make a difference to the university's stars on the brink of a sports career. "I was very aware of the signed photographs of the Olympic gymnasts he had treated," she said. "He was the best of the best." Others said he was seen as a god in the gymnastics world. In an episode of a gymnastics podcast broadcast in December 2013, Nassar spoke about how important it was to look after young athletes, not just physically but mentally. You have to protect your athletes, he told Gymkastic, speaking uncharacteristically slowly. You have to let them know they will be cared for. He also warned of the danger of mental injury to athletes, saying the physical injuries almost always they can recover from. The mental injury leaves the scars that keep coming back and haunt them later. Many of the women who spoke in court said that after he abused them, they were intimidated by his powerful status, reporting the offense, if they understood that they had been subject to an offense at all, felt almost impossible. Nasser had a strikingly similar pattern of how he abused young women, the vast majority of whom were gymnasts. They came to him often in pain, looking for help, at their most vulnerable moment. He tried to convince them what he was doing was normal, even talking about everyday life and joking as he touched them. Media playback is unsupported on your device. Media caption: former gymnast Jeanette Antolin, you made me believe you were my friend by projecting a sense of normality from his position of authority. Nasser made his victims feel they were wrong to believe this was abuse, and that they would be in the wrong if they complained. I remember having the option of keeping my spandex on, which I was very grateful for and chose, said Jennifer Rood Bedford, a volleyball player at MSU between 2000 and 2003. He had me lay down face down on the medical table. When he started treatment, I remember him saying his treatment relied upon applying pressure to areas around the pelvis and that this was normal. So when he went down there, I just told myself it was normal, that he knows what he's doing and don't be a baby. I remember laying there and thinking, is this okay? This doesn't seem right. Rachel Dean Hollander, a former gymnast from Michigan, was the first victim to speak up publicly in 2016. She told the BBC that Nasser abused her during every visit she made to his clinic over a year after she turned 15. Nasser would position Rachel's mother at the head of the table so she was not able to see what he was doing. With one hand, he would carry out sports massage. With the other, covered by a towel, he would insert his fingers into Raquel's vagina or anus. In one of their last sessions, he unhooked her bra and fondled her breast, the only time Rachel said she knew she was definitely being assaulted and not treated. Media playback is unsupported on your device. Media caption: Nasser reacts as former gymnast Gwen Anderson testifies. Many of the women said their trust in male relatives, partners, doctors, strangers, friends and teachers was destroyed as a result of Nasser's actions. My first reaction was to question myself, to blame myself, said Jennifer Rood Bedford. I wanted to believe the best in people, but no matter how much I rationalized, he's a doctor, he's treating you, he didn't mean for that to happen. I couldn't shake the voice in my head that something wasn't right. If you have been affected by child sexual abuse or violence, help and support is available. If you are in the UK, you can find links here. BBC Action Line. If you are in the US, you can contact RAIN, the National Sexual Abuse Hotline, here, or by calling 800-656. Hope for Gwen Anderson, a former gymnast who competed for her state of Michigan. The abuse began when she was just 12. Now, as a teacher to girls of the same age, she says she sees Nasser's actions in an even starker light. I teach 12, 13, 14-year-olds every day, she told the court, and every single day, when I look at them, I am faced with the reality of how young and defenseless we were when you molested us. I look at them every single day and I think to myself, I am their safe place. I'm their protector. I am their encouragement. I am their motivator. I am their rock. It is unclear when and how Nasser's abuse of his patients started, though the first allegations date to 1994. In August 2016, the Indianapolis Star published a story detailing allegations of sexual abuse committed by coaches working for USA Gymnastics. It claimed that the sporting body did not report allegations of abuse to relevant authorities. The initial article did not name Nasser, but after it was published, Raquel Dean Hollander realized this was her chance to speak up. The newspaper published allegations against him from two named former gymnasts, including Rachel. A month later, I knew this was how it was going to have to be done, she told the BBC outside court. When you have a predator who is surrounded by two very powerful institutions, one anonymous voice is never going to be enough. When you have a predator who is manipulative, gregarious and as engaging as Larry is, you have to be willing to meet him where he is the most comfortable, on very public ground, and never flinch. Media playback is unsupported on your device. Media caption: Gold medalists